Now we're going to go ahead, open up Blazemeter, and add a new test. If we go in here, we click on Add Test at the very top. We're going to go ahead, assign the test name. We're going to call this our Coveros website test. We're going to then want to add our JMeter Properties file. The recording that we just took, as you saw, I saved it to my desktop. So we want to look here, find our Coveros website JMX file. Then we want to go ahead and select our JMeter version. We are using JMeter 2.9. If we hop back here, you can actually go down to Help, About. You can see we're using 2.9 JMeter. One quick note, if you are using a different version, setting up the proxy server, some of the configurations that we did look at may be in a different area. So that is an exercise left up to you guys to actually determine the proper way to configure that. So then we want to look ahead and see exactly how we want to be controlling our JMeter setup. So do we want to be using the JMeter engine controls? Basically, do we want to have everything configured within our JMX file and use that, or do we want to actually use JMeter in order to control it? As I mentioned before, Blazemeter does kind of the same thing as JMeter, as it is a load test. It sets up concurrent users, has ramp-up periods that you'd expect. The big bonus of Blazemeter is you're in the cloud. If you've ever tried using JMeter on your own machine, typically after 20, 30 users, your machine is going to get bogged down. You're not going to be able to test anymore. Blazemeter, for the free trial, you can have 50 users running at once. If you have a paid tier, you can have thousands of users going at once. So personally, I like the default 50 users, 300-second ramp up, normal iterations. We can leave all those as they are. We can actually schedule our test to run at a later time if we want. I'm not going to worry about too many of the other testing properties right now. This is the really cool thing that Blazemeter adds that no one else has, is network emulation. You can just say, am I going over the internet, what you normally expect, or you can choose, 3G, Edge, cable, DSL, poor, good, all these different great network types that you wouldn't otherwise normally be able to set. If you have internet, you can actually limit your bandwidth. You can, if you want to set custom, you can set your own bandwidth. You can set your own latency. If you go with, say, 3G poor, it's going to give you its own bandwidth. Same with 3G good. You can see the latency changes and the bandwidth changes for each of these. So let's go with 3G good for that. The other fun thing is user experience monitoring with Selenium. We can actually go ahead and tell it to monitor all of our traffic using and trying to capture everything for Selenium, basically trying to mimic the end user based on all of the commands that we're sending. So let's go ahead, save all of this. Script name cannot include spaces. So let's then go ahead and rename our script name. No longer has spaces. You can see here everything else should be saved. Oops, we need to click on network emulation. Not saved, so we want to go ahead, fix that, set up our, now let's run with a 3G good if we can. Turn back on our Selenium experience. That part was saved. Click on save. So our test should be all saved, and now at this point we want to go ahead and run it. We get a test ID. All we have to do is up here at the top, click start. About to launch new test. Let's launch the servers. These tests generally take about an hour to actually run. So rather than wait around, let's go ahead and let's look at some reports of tests that I've run previously doing the same sort of thing. We see here session time 1 hour, standalone. If we go ahead and look at a previous test that I ran on the Coveros website, that's our test ID, but what we really want to see are our reports. So let's look at this report for our Coveros website. It's generated. You can see we have load results. We have a WebDriver because I'd chosen the same settings. I was interested in grabbing all the Selenium information. We have monitoring logs, any errors that were encountered. So all of these are all the different pieces of traffic that were passed back and forth based on all the commands we made. So you can see here the number of users. We got up to 50 users. See the response time that we were looking at. We can go ahead. We can look at the latency. We can see the number of hits. See the current active users. Because generally what will happen is after some of our users are done, we're going to ramp. We have the ramp up and we also have the ramp down. How many 200 errors do we have? Do we have any 500 errors, pages not loading, anything being non-responsive? And we can graph all of these next to each other. We can also go ahead, use this, narrow down our actual particular window it is we're interested in. Blazemeter provides some fantastic reporting tools. The other great thing, is while tests are running, you can actually be looking at some real-time monitoring. It'll tell you the CPU, memory usage of the actual machines that they stood up that are performing these tests out in the cloud. And that's pretty much it. These are all the results we want to be looking at. For some more information, if you go to our Coveros website, check out our blog, www.coveros.com. Do a search for Blazemeter, do a search for mobile testing. You can see all sorts of great other videos, all sorts of tools. Make sure you check out all the other videos we have on our YouTube channel. We have some other really great information in there. As I said, if you have any questions, go ahead, contact us, contact me, and hopefully you guys found this useful. Thanks.